Hello everyone. Today with Laura, Vincent, Gucario, and I, we are going to talk about following topic: Bitcoin, DM, Ethereum, and Cardano. Which one could be the next leader cryptocurrency? I'll start by telling you about Bitcoin, its market, and the Bitcoin and coronavirus. Laura gives you a presentation of DM and talk about the advantages of DM and the disadvantages of DMs. Gucario will talk about Ethereum, Ethereum advantages, Ethereum vs Bitcoin, Ethereum statistics, the reason of going to up during COVID-19, and her conclusions. Vincent will end on what is the Cardano, the behavior of people in case of a world problems, the consequences of his behavior, his conclusion, and he will conclude these presentations. If you have any question or feedback, we would prefer that you do so at the end of the presentations. In this part, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. We are already started to talk about it in our weekly presentations in week 5. This time, I'm going to talk more about topics like the current price of Bitcoin and its evolution under the coronavirus. With this paper, Finance Research Letters, we can see that the market before 2017 is less efficient compared to after 2017. The market is largely inefficient before 2017, as the author of the paper said. On these two diagrams from the same article, we can see that Bitcoin BTC in red before 2017, in terms of normalized price on volume in billions USD, there is a real differences with the after 2017, with a peak around January 2018 in both cases. We can put forward the hypothesis that an event linked to cryptocurrency and in particular to Bitcoin occurred at this time. Indeed, in January 2018, there was a sharp decline in all cryptocurrency and in the price of Bitcoin. This has encouraged people to buy Bitcoin, which may explain the spikes seen earlier. Oh, sorry. Bitcoin and coronavirus. According to the article, current health crisis may have demonstrated some volatility and uncertainty in the cryptocurrency market and especially in Bitcoin. As we can see on these graphs, the curve of Bitcoin during the coronavirus crisis in blue is quite unstable. We can hypothesize that the coronavirus had an impact on the Bitcoin price, but as the authors of the article say, we will not to be able ready to see the impact to the coronavirus on Bitcoin thanks to the studies that will be conducted in near future.
So now I'm going to speak about the DM. So the DM, formerly known as the Libra, is a cryptocurrency and virtual currency project initiated by Facebook and initially joined by a consumption of 28 major companies and NGOs. It is agreed that the currency will be managed by a non-profit foundation of which Facebook will be only one of the co-founding organizations. The DM project is expected to be launched in 2020. The Libra changed its name to DM in December 2020. Can you change slide? Again. Once again. Okay, thank you. As Sean McAfee has stated, there will be an electronic currency. Slide before, please, Eloise. Thank you. As Sean McAfee has stated, there will be an electronic currency and it will be universal, and we must accept that fact. The DM project can therefore be questioned. In order to reassure and keep a state rate, which each purchase of this currency, the foundation will back the equivalent in government securities or foreign currency in reserve. DM's mission is to develop a simple global currency and financial infrastructure to serve billions of people. The aim of setting up DM would be to provide simple access to a stable currency for emerging countries. These are the countries where people may not have a bank account and not used to online shopping. To enable its stability, the DM would be linked to existing currency, allowing it to keep a very stable rate. In addition, Facebook is also has also planned to create an application. It was called Calibra before, but now it's Novi. This application would be a wallet where we could store Facebook cryptocurrency. So now I'm going to speak about the advantages of the DM. So first of all, thanks to this new technology, Facebook wants to allow users to transfer money to someone with their phone with or small or no transfer fees and no matter where the person lives. As this article explains, all this will be done thanks to its own payment application, Novi. It's just like Apple Pay or Google Play, but Facebook is also considering integrating the payment in DM directly into its applications such as Messenger and WhatsApp. Moreover, unlike current money transfer systems, transactions will be instantaneous and less expensive. DM will be accessible to people who maybe do not have a bank account. Indeed, a large part of the world's population doesn't have now a bank account. Another advantage of the DM is to protect against unstable national currency. Indeed, with the help of its 100% digital currency, it will stabilize the percentage of purchasing power for the inhabitants of countries with high inflation, just like, for example, Venezuela. So now the disadvantages of the DM. So the article also mentions that the implementation of a cryptocurrency established by Facebook could raise the issue of personal data of Facebook users. Indeed, Facebook already holds personal information, such as the list of our friends, our hobbies, what do we like and what do we watch. With DM, the network could maybe have information on what we buy, how much, and from whom. So Facebook would become a bank and could know everything about its users and accept or not if a user is, for example, requesting a loan. All this increases the power of Facebook over its users. Another problem that I was thinking about is the risk of monopoly. There is a fear that Facebook's entry into retail payments will reduce competition. Facebook is a giant in the field of social network, and if it's become popular, it could grow with 2.8 billion users each month.
Now I'm going to introduce HRM. HRM has open access to digital money and data-friendly services for everyone, no matter the user's background or location, and second most popular cryptocurrency after Bitcoin. It's a community-built technology behind the cryptocurrency Ether, and thousands of applications can be used today. According to the official website, HRM is the world's programmable blockchain that users can use for different digital assets, even Bitcoin. This also means HRM is for more than payments. It's a marketplace of financial services, games, and apps that can steal the data or the sensor of the user. In this slide, you can see the advantages and disadvantages of the HRM, which was mentioned in the Forbes. But I'm going to give much more focus on the next slide, which was given the advantages of the HRM in this Scopus article. So we can use this article to identify the HRM advantages and the reliability, where HRM is mentioned as the most widely used blockchain platform because of its unlimited block size. Many complex problems with smart contracts can be implemented with HRM, and the eradication of third-party organizations interfering in transaction helps solving the issues of financial crisis, and it's easy to implement compared to other blockchain technologies. The following Scopus article clearly analyzes and evaluated HRM and Bitcoin reliability during pandemic. After DCC and CDC results, the conclusion of the article was that the regression results also robustly support the safe haven features and uncovers HRM is possibly a better safe haven than Bitcoin, with difference of 1% daily volatility before and after COVID-19. If you look at the investing terms, .com statistics during the last 6 months, the Ethereum value increased dramatically. Now let's look at the reasons. The first article of the conversation website titled Ethereum, What is it and why has the price gone parabolic, explains the reasons in the following manner. The first is a piece of innovation on the platform. In 2020, we saw the emergence of decentralized finance, DeFi. Users can borrow, trade, lend, and invest through autonomous smart contracts with protocols like Compound, Aave, and Yearn Finance. The second factor behind the is a surge in the launch of Ethereum 2. In particular, it will reduce transaction fees, especially useful in DeFi trading, where each transaction can end up costing the equivalent of tens of US dollars. A final factor in the launch of Ethereum features trading on February 8. This means the traders will be able to speculate on what Ether will be worth at a given date in the future for the first time, a hallmark of any major financial asset. In the second article, Parkin mentioned Greg Weisman, the co-founder and the COO of the payment network Mercurio explanation, explained that Ethereum's price started to really just as Visa started using its network to settle cryptocurrency transactions. So the conclusion, both currencies are extremely volatile and are as liable to crash by extremes as rise by them. Bitcoin price fell 85% in the year after the last bull market in 2017, while AZ was down by 95% at the one stage from its previous high of over 1,000 US dollars. Wherever the valuation of the future of Ethereum as a platform looks bright, its challenge is ultimately external. Projects such as Cardano and Polkadot, created by individuals who helped launch Ethereum itself, are attempting to steal Ethereum's crown.
So now, what is the Cardano? So Cardano is one of the new cryptocurrency we can find. It's born in the 29th September 2017, and the creator of this cryptocurrency is Charles Hoskinson. He was the co-creator of HRM. The blockchain of the Cardano, like I said, like in the PPT, it's the mix between the Bitcoin and the Ethereum. So the Cardano use the layer, the layer similar this layer is similar to the Bitcoin and tracks transaction, and the second layer is the computer layer. This layer is similar to Ethereum, allowing smart contracts and applications to run on the platform. Cardano is unique in that it does not follow the white paper. Instead, it uses design principles intended to improve problems faced by other cryptocurrency, scalability, interoperability, and regularity compliances. It's funded by an initial offering of cryptocurrency. Now, the article I read is the behavior of people in the event of the global problem. So at the beginning of the cryptocurrency, the old pandemics cause small crashes in the market. Every time we can see a little down with the Ebola, with VIH, or anything like that. And the COVID, like everyone knows, paralyzed all the world. And so we can find a little crash at the beginning of the corona. And so the people behavior started to change. They started to be like the black sheep, and there are the consequences to that it may have had. So you can see here, so the consequence of this herd behavior. So the people act like the herd, and the cryptocurrency market has suffered of losses over period during December 2019 and March 2029. But to conclude with the evolution now, with all the people was locked down, we can see a very huge evolution for the cryptocurrency. Here it's just the Cardano, the cryptocurrency we focus. And to conclude, so the cryptocurrency is becoming more and more reliable. They depending on the cryptocurrency, our taxes are getting lower and lower, and they represent the future to help developing countries to avoid the taxi of countries that have the monopoly. Even with the global pandemic, the cryptocurrency markets it's not stopped. And to finish, I think the Cardano is one of the best cryptocurrency because she stay very stable each time during the pandemic. Thank you for listening. If you have some question, you can do it. And here is our references.
And you have taken...
Do we just have some feedbacks of our presentation?
That's what I just said.
I mean, from the students. I mean, is it possible that the rest of the class give us some feedbacks?
In France, and even more so in Korea, if you just have a general question, what do you think? Nobody will say anything.
Oh, I think I have one question, Professor. Sorry.
Okay.
Like I heard Vincent that I think you've done a great presentation today. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. That was really good.
Sorry, just a second. Emma and Elodie, are you here?
Yes.
Hyanak,
Yes.
Okay, you do want to also present today?
Yes.
Okay, you are eating into your time, right? Go ahead, continue chit-chatting if you want.
Yeah.
I just want to point out the reality, the big picture.
Okay.
Okay. If you feel like you need to start the presentation, you may go, Emma, right? Elodie?
Yeah. Let's start.
You are waiting for the world to come and give you opportunities. I've had several students in my class and in my office recently that seem to think there's this big golden truck that's going to come down the road with their name on it, giving them some special success. You need to manage it. You need to go out, grab it, and take control. Okay. Thank you.
So everyone see it's okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we will talk about why our company is investing in cryptocurrencies. What's the interest for companies? First of all, buying Bitcoin with your company is quite possible. Indeed, a company can increase its saving by buying cryptocurrencies. The executive can invest some of the company's money in foreign currencies, bonds, stock, and Bitcoin. Thus, some executives start or continue to invest in this currency in massive way as many individuals. But the purchase of Bitcoin must be a complement in the main activity and not the main part of these assets. In recent months, companies such as Tesla and MicroStrategy have made significant investments in Bitcoins and the BTC. Some groups are looking to profit from the explosion of the BTC price. Others are looking to protect themselves from inflation of fiduciary currencies, dollar and euro, or to pay the ransom demanded by ransomware. So the reason why companies investing on BTC, the first one is growing confidence in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now attracting the interest of many investment funds. For example, Grayscale, a famous asset manager, bought 60,000 BTC, the equivalent of $600 million in single day. In this context, several large companies have converted some of their cash into BTC. And this is notably the case of Tesla, the electric car manufacturer of Elon Musk. According to a document sent to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the US stock market regulator, Tesla has purchased $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin or 8% of the firm's available cash. Tesla case is far from unique. MicroStrategy, an American software company, has invested in virtual currencies on several occasions. The announcement from Tesla and MicroStrategy are a strong signal that Bitcoin has achieved some financial normalcy. Like Tesla and MicroStrategy, other companies are sure sure to turn to Bitcoin in the coming months and years. Apparently, Apple is considering converting some of its cash into cryptocurrencies. More recently, a rumor has come to ensure that Netflix, the current leader in streaming, will soon do the same with the cash. So the second one is to speculate on the price of Bitcoin. Companies that invest in BTC are primarily looking to profit from the digital currency exploding price. Over the course of the year, Bitcoin has more than doubled in value, and there is no end in sight to this amazing rise. Analysts and market watchers believe that the price of BTC will continue to rise. So it's a graph of Bitcoin from its beginning to today. For companies with a large amount of cash, BTC therefore represents a great investment opportunity. On the other hand, Bitcoin is likely to emerge as a more efficient store of value than gold, according to the Motley Fool. For businesses and individuals alike, it's easier to store a large amount of BTC than it is to hold gold bars. To store cryptocurrency, all you have to do is create a wallet of the blockchain. In addition, Bitcoin is a true means of payment unlike gold. The third reason is to protect against inflation fiduciary currencies. Since the coronavirus crisis, the US Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank have been printing massive amounts of money in order to stimulate the economy. This strategy is likely to lead to a return of inflation of the dollar and the euro. In this context, companies with a lot of cash are looking to protect their assets. Some newspapers are saying that Bitcoin is an investment to protect themselves from inflation. Jack Dorsey, boss of Square, a payment service, talked about investing in BTC and says it's an instrument of economic emancipation. So these two articles explain in detail how the economic situation created by the COVID-19 has a positive impact on the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. One of the reasons is the decentralization of these currencies. And the last reason is to pay the ransom in BTC demanded by ransomware. Unfortunately, some companies that have purchased Bitcoin in recent months have not entered the cryptocurrency world with an investment mindset. Over the past year, many firms have fallen victim to ransomware. This type of malware steals confidential data and monetize in its exchange for crypto assets, including BTC. According to a Checkpoint study, ransomware attacks increased by 50% worldwide in the last quarter of 2020. In order to pay the sum demanded by the hackers, companies are therefore forced to buy Bitcoin. Indeed, some companies that do not have backups of the data recovered by the hackers have had no choice but to pay the ransom demanded. These repeated purchases of Bitcoin are said to have contributed to the rise price of Bitcoin in recent months. So those articles, so the first article explains in detail what the darknet is and what the ransomware is. And the second one shows us the solution found to counter ransomware. For example, they created some algorithm to detect ransomware. How does that work? Before you invest in cryptocurrencies, first, you should ask yourself a few questions. The first one is where to buy cryptocurrencies, of course. Like an individual, a company can open an account on cryptocurrency exchange platform like Coinbase Pro, Kraken, Bitstamp, or with a broker, CoinHouse, Bitcoin Swiss, and Genesis. The onboarding process is longer than for individual because you have to provide a whole series of documents, as well as credit credential for each person in the company who will have to access cryptocurrencies. For your first investment, focus on Bitcoin, the leading cryptocurrency in terms of capitalization. It's also the oldest and most secure to date. The Bitcoin protocol has never been hacked. So you can also buy either the second largest capitalization in the world. The protocol on which it's based, Ethereum, is increasingly being tested by financial institutions to perform operation. Société Générale, a French bank, has already issued bonds via Ethereum. It's also important to be surrounded by accountants, tax specialists, and keep up to date our banker who can help you and inform you about the risk and taxes rule to follow when buying Bitcoin for business. Finally, you should not put a majority of all your cash into cryptocurrencies. For individuals, we're not going to recommend going beyond 10% of your wealth because cryptocurrencies are very risky assets. We advise the same figure for businesses. So this article talks about the link between the three dominant cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. In the face of cyber attack, it's explained that the link between cryptocurrencies are crucial for risk management, diversification of investor portfolio. This article can then help us understand which cryptocurrency companies prefer to bet on. And this is an example of a French website to buy some cryptocurrencies.
So now let's talk about some companies that have invested in Bitcoin. A total of 13 publicly traded companies now have Bitcoin in their financial assets. This amounts to $6.9 billion, although the largest investor remains Grayscale. While companies like MicroStrategy do invest their cash in Bitcoin, there remain exceptions, but MicroStrategy is indeed an isolated case. The other 12 list companies on the Bitcoin Treasuries list are all involved in the crypto and blockchain market through their activities. Holding cryptocurrency is almost an evidence for them. Bitcoin is not an ordinary investment product at this point for individuals or companies. So let's talk about one company in particular. Let's talk about Tesla. Tesla has told the SEC, the US stock market regulator, that it has invested $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. The operation was carried out in January, and the manufacturer announced that it will now make investment in cryptocurrencies in the medium and long term. Tesla's interest in Bitcoin goes beyond that. The electric-only automaker is considering accepting the virtual currencies to sell vehicles. A small-scale experiment is expected to be launched in markets where it is legal, and the company reserves the right to convert the cryptocurrencies into official money or hold it as a future investment. By a happy coincidence of timing, Elon Musk had helped to boost the value of Bitcoin at the end of January, simply by naming it in his Twitter bio. And this announcement further reinforced the good start of 2021 for the cryptocurrency. In 2018, the Tesla boss had already been accused by the SEC of manipulating his company share price. At this time, he had mentioned on Twitter his plans to take the stock out of the financial markets. In fact, the California-based automaker is expected to be the first to sell cars in exchange for the cryptocurrency. If its share price continues to rise as it has in recent weeks, it will be a good deal for the company, which will be able to generate much more profit than with official currencies. On the other hand, it could mean heavy losses if the virtual currency collapses, as has been the case in the past. Elon Musk's interest in Bitcoin goes beyond the short term. At the end of 2020, is indicated that it could be the currency on Mars, the planet he hopes to colonize one day with SpaceX. By starting with Tesla, he may hope to amass enough Bitcoin for the future Mars economy. So now let's talk about the last, another Scopus article. So this article talks about the correlation between the volatility of the cryptocurrency and cyber attack. Indeed, hacking attacks have a particularly strong impact on the volatility of Bitcoin. On the other hand, the volatility of Bitcoin changes according to the index of consumer confidence. Bitcoin is a decentralized currency, which means that it doesn't meet the prices standards of any particular country. But there are many other factors that can influence the price of Bitcoin. And now I wanted to see other articles if you are interested about the subject. Is not articles from the Scopus, but it's articles from other reliable websites. Can you change the? Yep, thank you. So there is one about Forbes, speak about what publicly traded companies have Bitcoin on their balance sheet and why. Another one about adaptation of cryptocurrencies in list companies, and 3 other articles from Fortune magazines, one about Ethereum, and 2 others about Tesla and Square companies about investments in cryptocurrencies. And after that, I'll let you know, you can see all the references and the general links, and the Scopus links I will give you later. Thank you. And if you have any question, let's talk on the chat maybe, that other student can continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very happy with the way things are going so far. Make sure you keep managing yourselves well.
Okay, so we're going to have a start. So, Jung, can you start it?
Yeah. So, Professor, may I start?
Do you want to wait until I go have a cigarette and a smoke break?
No. Yeah, I will start. So, hello everyone. My name is Jung Woo-seo, and our group member is Yebin Park and Hyunak Do. And next slide, please. Then this journal shows the permanent problem of human resource management in permanent employees. The employee changed in short term, so they must update and ask about information about them frequently. But if they use electronic HRM system, this can be solved easily by using applicant tracking system and other things. Next slide, please. So this is our abstract. This study aims to analyze the scope and potential benefit of corporations because of 4.0 Industrial Revolution's technology, specifically focusing on the electronic human resource management. People usually guess E-HRM is just applying the electronic to HRM, but it possesses more meaning than that. This paper will find out which benefit does the firm earn, and what kind of program can be developed with several limitations of other research. Most of the materials will be secondary data, which are collected from Scopus journal that shows the high reliability. And the results of this paper will contribute to companies which are reluctant to apply the electronic human resource management in that company. And this is our introduction. As technology is developed, many functions are changed into online. Chronologically, the HRM was started from early 14,000s and to 1,700s. In this period, the labor was not that complex, so there was not particular human resource department, and the only example of human resource was division of labor. So they did the work, what they are skillful at. However, after 1800s, the concept of the factory was emerged by Robert Owens, and the welfare and employment relationship were developed to improve the social and working condition of the employees. Not like in the past, the company do not employ workers indiscriminately. The corporations do not recruit young children, and providing the company school, life insurance, hospitals, and so on to enhancing employees' welfare, since these factors are highly related to overall productivity. And after 1900s, the appear of manufacturing, owners searched for the way to enhance the efficiency can productivity, and the outbreak of the Second World War, the importance of human resource was emphasized furthermore because the labor was becoming more complexified. Also, the factory cannot be managed properly during the war, and more labor union and managers were appeared for solving these conflicts. Lastly, from 1980s to the strategic HRM was emerged. This means that the employer considered employee as strategic partners. This is going to be the advanced sum of the previous three stages. By this step, the human resource management has been developing. Nowadays, human resource became the essential part for every companies, and they use electronic human resources for upgrading the performance. Of course, many companies benefit from E-HRM, but there was also the limitation and challenges of it. So this paper will argue how to solve it and developing new technologies. And from now, we prepare three literature review. The first one is definition of E-HRM. HRM department was doing their effort continuously to apply the technology to HRM system because it can improve the value of the company. E-HRM is used to help match employee behavior with strategic choices by using technologies. In detail, this means it implements and delivers the HR functionality by connecting employees, applicants, and managers. And EHRM also has strategic goal to create a value between employee and management. That means it is not just a technology that manage the HRM by IT, but it also used to enhance workers' working environment and outcome of the company as the whole. Next slide, please. And next one is E-HRM and traditional HRM. In traditional HRM, the employee must deliver and manage all the HR services, but E-HRM makes the company to convey human resource services via through information technology, which allows company to entail line supervisors in HR activities. The major alternation happened by E-HRM shows the significant results that go beyond working efficiency. For example, assisting internal clients' private and business lives and enhancing equality of procedures. This means that the E-HRM improves the traditional human resource quality, and the shifting from traditional to HRM means the shift to a more strategic, precise, and combined approach to human resource management. Next slide, please. The next slide is the usage and effectiveness. The usefulness of E-HRM is difficult to define without considering its relevance with the goals the system serves, and the empirical study is not enough to prove that the E-HRM is helpful to improve the quality of human resource. However, many experts mention that the E-HRM usage will make HR service quality better than before. In addition, RULE and CAP showed that E-HRM operation remarkably served to the creation of effectiveness and HR services value in company. In other words, the lack of objective research does not allow to mention the HRM leads to human resource efficiency. And next presenter will continue the presentation.
So from now on, we're going to have a brief explanation of an idealistic HRM application system, which will cover the technological problems issued in HRM. So during the previous HRM system released in the course after first industrial revolution, the company confronted such problems like shortage in data analytics skills within HR, poor IT infrastructure, and insufficient investment from the business due to the generalization in the operation in HRM application process. And based on the academic researches, it was shown that the HRM will face more challenges and obstacles in the daily operation if the system keeps its way of progress without changes. And that's why to cover the issues, it was inevitable to introduce HRM 4.0, which will be a lot more handy renewed system in HRM history to increase the utilization of E-HRM strategically. So in order to have a new HRM application, the four technologies are asked to be prepared for the operation of HRM 4.0. The four technologies are derived from post-industrial revolution, and that implies that internet technology is mainly used for the new HRM application, and the four technologies are, as you can see, big data, 5G, cloud computing, and serverless architecture. And as the internet technology has impacted a lot to the business society, and the internet has been supplied over decades, there are hundreds of thousands of data on the internet. And 5G wireless technology is meant to deliver higher multi-gigabytes per second big data space, ultra low latency, more reliability, and massive network capacity, and increased availability and a more uniform user experience to more users. And higher performance and improved efficiency empower new user experiences and connects new industries. And cloud computing is on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage and computing power, without direct active management by the users. And serverless architecture is a form of a storage architecture to minimize the cost of server maintenance. And by using this architecture program, the cost of cloud server maintenance of the company will be measured only when the user is sending and getting data from the cloud. So, these technologies in HRM 4.0 are used to gather the data of users' conscious behavior, gather the data of users' unconscious behavior, and identify the patterns of users in working, and store the data collected every day, every second, and send the data to where they are needed to or to be filtered. And it is also needed to make a quick response to problems made by employees, and to have a live discussion or communication with the headquarters, and to maximize the use of big data, and to faster the overall speed of the operation in HRM 4.0, and to open wide access to the globe. And it is also used to store the data by groups and continue the green IT strategy, and to maintain the reliability on mobiles and comfortability. And as the technological advancement has broadened the scope of E-HRM application, there should be more sophisticated setting in new strategic use of HRM. So here, the premeditated steps in operation of HRM 4.0 is just like this. First, the company collects the behavioral data of employee during the working time through motion tracker, language detector, or any other detecting devices or system. And when the raw data is collected, and the computer will sort the data out by identifying the needs of the company with advanced algorithms. The data sorted out will go to artificial intelligence system as for the use of machine learning. And then the AI system will be able to figure out possible solutions or recommended output, which will be benefits to the employees. And then the employees will get trained, evaluated, promoted with that output. So, Yevin, can you continue to?
Thank you, Hanak and Jungwoo. I'll start. According to Hempel, there is a need of HR professionals about the broader understanding of both the operational and strategic side of the business in order to effectively support these innovations. So, and also he argues that professionals must be able to adopt technologies that allow the re-engineering of the HR functions. Next, please.
Hey, partner, next.
I think.
Hanak, are you sleeping?
Hello, excuse me.
I can go back into the file and check my access if you want.
Thank you, sir.
And
sorry, may you hold for a second, please? Hyunak's Wi-Fi is not working well, and he's connecting right now. Sorry.
So can you see this? Which slide did you want to show?
Slide 18, please. Sorry.
Slide 18. There you go.
Oh, so looking at the previously covered PowerPoint content by Hanak, it is expected that it will be difficult for the managers to apply those very complicated technologies to each part. So the goal of our team is to develop and apply program or services that help for the successful adoption of the new technologies. Next slide, please. So using this program or service will benefit the company from cost reduction. Depending on the workload, the number of jobs needed by multiple people will be reduced to one or two managers and AI, which reduces the labor cost. So we also expect it to be helpful for SMEs who cannot afford to apply a lot of managers. So in addition, AI will quickly and accurately perform tasks found, analyzed, and classified by managers one by one to reduce the burden of work and increase work efficiency. Next slide, please.
Hyanak, are you able to take over? Or your team? I need to be able to record your marks.
This one, right?
Slide 20. Yeah. Thank you. So how is it applied? Looking at the borrowed figures shows that the introduction of new technologies affects corporate work design and results in HR practices. Now, new technology also reinforces HR practices, enabling innovative management. Using the aforementioned fusion technology by Hanhak, AI will assist the manager by learning and analyzing the essential information and work process by each division. So which we will call AI Managerial Assistant. Next, please. The tasks assigned to HR managers are basically recruiting, training, communication, performance appraisal, reward, and promotion. It is expected that AI, which has been studied differently for each component, will be deployed and more detailed support will be possible. So next, please. Our conclusion is so far that HRM 4.0 aims to provide a better environment for companies and workers by incorporating more advanced technologies than web-based systems. So we will study the details and challenges in each part for the rest of this semester and cover them in the final. Thank you for listening. And next slides are references. You can check it on the Google Drive.
Additionally, we have actually wrote the grant application and sent to the company, which is called HRM Korea, and we will be like telling you what the progress of what we are doing. Actually, you will be able to check it in our Google Drive. So, and I will welcome you if you kindly to evaluate our group. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for listening today. So this is the end of the presentation.
Good job, folks. Thank you very much. I hope you guys are going to be paying me for being your slide turner. Am I a good staff?
Professor,
very good.
Can I begin? Can I start?
Okay.
You ask me if you can start. Is it okay if I go have a short nap and then maybe we start in 30 minutes? Why do you ask that? Stop being so quiet and shy. Be confident. The world is a very big place that requires confidence. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ulubek, and today I want to show you my business plan about Korean language school in Uzbekistan. Here is some of my contacts if you want to contact me. And here is my scopes of my presentation. First section is abstract and introduction. Second section is background. Third section is literature review. Fourth section is research methodology. Sixth section is outcomes and results. And lastly, conclusion. Section 1, abstract and introduction. Due to the globalization, demand for learning foreign languages has been increasing in all over the world. This project will explore popularity of foreign language education centers among youth generation in Uzbekistan, Specifically, the goal of this project is starting and managing a Korean language training center in Uzbekistan that teach Korean language courses to learners in Uzbekistan, especially to inhabitants of Samarkand region. It's my hometown. And here is some introduction. Some answers for what Korean language center and where Uzbekistan Samarkand, to who target groups are usually students who are interested in Korean language, want to study and work in South Korea, and why. Popular because Korean language is popular in Uzbekistan and there are high demand and low supply and also profits. And when after graduation. Section 2, background. In this background, I want to use our knowledge based on our class topics, which are managing info, fake news, social media manipulations, and also we had also business plan goals, business models, business proposal, technology commercialization, startups, and tech enterprises. And also I want to cover class topic 3, HR management, online outsourcing. Literature review. Here is my literature review. It consists of main components of Korean learners and the expected composition of the faculty teaching of Korean education in Samarkand with online teaching and influence of social media for Korean language courses and posters 5 course analysis. Main components of Korean language learners. Korean language learners are mainly college students in Uzbekistan due to the study or employment development needs of college students. They are aware of current popular elements through various media and are relatively sensitive to them. In addition, they have sufficient spare time and strong learning ability and other advantages, which all provide various convenient conditions for college students to learn Korean language. The expected composition of the faculty we have a teaching modes is diverse. There are one-to-one class, 1-to-2, small class, middle class, large class teaching, and also network courses and other teaching modes. Teaching of Korean language education parallel with online teaching. I want to use also distance learning method. Distance learning is a method of studying in which lectures are broadcast or classes are conducted by correspondence or over the internet without the students needing to attend a school or college, also call it distance education. And there are two main types of benefits of open educational resource, which are quicker course development and education quality improvements. And modern distance learning usually have two types, which were web-based course and web-based services. For example, ABC provides open educational resource at various levels. Influence of social media for Korean language courses. Online course contents, for example, creating groups and profiles, promotional and advertising information, fascinating videos, interesting facts, can also help to increase the loyalty of potential customers. And what are the Porter's 5 forces? Porter's 5 forces is a model that identifies and analyzes five competitive forces that shape every industry and helps determine in industry's weakness and strengths. This model is named after Harvard Business School professor Michael E. Porter. There are 5 sections of Porter's 5 force analysis. There are 3 top new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers and bargaining power of buyers, 3 top subsidies, products, services, and last one, rivalry among existing competitors. Here is some analysis of Korean language education training industry in Samarkand. And I found that rate of new entrants as low because government policies are welcome for new foreign language centers and minimal capital assets required to open education center. And bargaining power of suppliers also low because of many suppliers are not available in Samarkand and less availability of teachers. And bargaining power of buyers I found as medium because every education center has similar products and indoor online services. And rate of new substitutes product service are high because switching to another school is easy and customers are more price sensitive. And rivalry among existing competitors I found high because existing costs increase over time and similar products, seasonal trends, and high fixed costs and new schools competition price. Research methodology. The main approach of this research paper would be literature research. The aim of this paper is to analyze and understand the information available on culture, its influence on distance learning and consumers' behavior in Uzbekistan. And also I want to use information from previous research papers and case studies will help us visualize the current states of Korean language in Uzbekistan. And also I want to use a qualitative grounded theory methodology with an interpretative research philosophy.
Good job. So far, I'm not going to mention any names, but some people didn't really mention the proper research methodology. That's a good start, Ulugбек. And make sure everybody in class knows that when you're talking about, what was it, the literature review, that just means reading. So your methodology shouldn't just say literature review. That just means reading. You should be a little more specific. Anyway, sorry, I'll be quiet. Keep going. Good job.
And section 6, outcomes and results. What do I expect to produce when I complete this study? Ultimately, this has implication for not only investors and business owners, but also society can take more benefits by studying in more improved types of Korean language centers. And also it can be guidelines for startups. However, I have some limitations and concerns. In Uzbekistan, the limitation of this study are limited qualified specialists and native speakers of Korean language speakers. And accordingly, Yonhap News Agency, at present, there are 9 Korean teachers in Uzbekistan in 2018, as well as main part of citizens in Uzbekistan are not familiar with distance learning. And here is my reference. Thank you for attention.
Again, one of the things that I need to repeat is the most valuable part of you presenting is to share what you have with other people. So far, you're not really sharing. Most of you stand up, you talk, and then you're finished. That's not sharing. It should be a two-way street. Ask other people to help you improve. Would you like more guidance? Any questions, comments? There's still more people that need to present. So that's up to you guys. But if you want, I can give you more guidance.
I have a question to my classmates about the project that we are going to do, that what we have actually presented like a while ago. Like, do you ever feel like that it's going to be good enough to implement or to start investigation of our project HRM 4.0? Do you believe it's good enough? So, Gulkayo, like I know that you're preparing for your own business, right? So, what do you think about our business? Since we're trying to sell this project to HRM company. So, what do you think about that?
It would be very helpful for me for my business because I'm planning to do taxi service. So in a taxi service, HRM, the system with the digital system is very important, I think, because I can communicate with the people digitally. So it's very important. I think it will be very successful.
Thank you. Do you have any other help that you can give me to give our group?
Lots. I have lots, but I'm going to wait until the end.
Okay. Any other students? Can you give us some feedbacks? Since it was the first presentation that we have done, there may be a lot of faults or some mistakes. So you just feel free to tell me it's okay, anything bad or anything good, you can tell me anything.
So far, again, there are people that should be managing your presentation now, but I will help and give a couple of comments to everybody. If you guys talk, you get bonus points. If I have to say it, I can't really give myself points. So please talk. As soon as you talk, I will stop. Many of you are generalizing quite a lot, and that's normal for young people. The older you get, the more experience you get, the more you understand small details make a difference. For example, Hyunakdo, in your presentation, you're talking about how companies can be influenced by Industry 4.0. Well, there are billions of companies and there are billions of details related to Industry 4.0. You will look very good if you're as specific as a Scopus article. That's why I suggest everybody replicate a Scopus article. If you go up to an executive and you tell them something that's kind of basic that everybody knows, they might not be excited. They might not be as excited to give you a job as if you are specific and teach them something new.